In a Seattle hospital, Samantha and Will find out the baby will be a boy. Later, before going to the airport, Will tells Samantha he will ask her father for permission to marry her. In Chicago, Will attends some business meetings before visiting Samantha's parents, Paula and Tom. They welcome him home, but the atmosphere is clearly tense. During dinner, Tom says he heard Will and Samantha are thinking of living together and asks for assurances about the future. Tom wants to know if, in case of a breakup, Will not claim the money he sends to help his daughter. Will replies that he has a good job and that they don't need his money, which leads to an argument. Paula tries to calm them with no success. Then she ends the night saying it's late and asks Will to leave before the quarrel worsens. The next morning, Will is woken by a video call from Samantha and realizes he's late for his flight. She wants to talk about what happened with her parents, but the call is interrupted by strange noises. Samantha explains that the power went out and says something is wrong, even admits she's scared. The screen starts to glitch and the call is cut off. Will tries to call back but can't. On the way to the airport, he keeps trying to communicate, but she doesn't answer. When he tries to board the plane, he's surprised to find all flights canceled. The news report major seismic events off the Southern California coast until contact with the Los Angeles studio is lost. Soon, a bulletin reports power and telecommunications failures across the western region of the country. Suddenly, the screens at the airport begin to fail and the lights go out. He leaves the building and sees people panicking everywhere. He then pays extra to a taxi driver to take him back to the city. On the way, he keeps calling Samantha, but with no luck. Shortly after, he returns to Paula's house and has to climb the stairs since the elevator isn't working. He tells Samantha's parents about the last conversation he had with her while he notices fighter jets flying over the city. The couple are packing, and Tom explains he will look for Samantha while Paula will go to their other son's house. Will agrees to accompany him. When they reach the street, traffic is terrible as everyone tries to flee. GPS and cell phones don't work, and people loot supermarkets for food and fuel. The pair stop at a supermarket, and Tom goes in to get supplies while Will fills a gas can. A woman approaches to flirt, and when he rejects her, her accomplices come to defend her. About to smash the car windows, Tom yells for them to stop. He pretends he will give money, but as he reaches the car, he pulls a gun and points it at them until they back off. As they drive away, Will complains that Tom didn't tell him he came armed. Tom replies that it was thanks to the gun they weren't robbed. On the highway, traffic worsens and the military blocks the road. Tom gets out to talk to the soldiers and explains the situation until they take pity and let them pass. Shortly after, they see trains heading west carrying heavy military equipment, which further raises concern about what might be happening. At night, a police patrol forces them to stop. Will gets out to speak with the officer, but Tom immediately notices he's not a real officer and yells for his friend to return. When the stranger tries to shoot, Tom reverses the car to scare him and ends up crashing into the patrol car. Will quickly gets into the vehicle and they flee while the fake officer can't catch them. As the man chases them in the patrol car, Tom orders Will to load the gun. The fake officer rams the rear of their car, and Tom has to regain control of the wheel. When the man pulls his car alongside, Will misses the shot, and Tom has to explain how to load the gun correctly. The cars keep colliding until Will finally fires, without success. Spotting an abandoned car on the road, Tom swerves, causing the other vehicle to crash into the parked car, enabling them to lose him. Shortly after, some deer appear on the road, and Tom makes a sharp turn, causing the car to plunge down an embankment and hit a tree. This allows the fake officer to approach and point his gun at Will, ordering him out. However, Tom attacks him from behind and strikes him several times until he's unconscious, then tells Will he broke his ribs. They then get into the patrol car and use it to tow Tom's vehicle. The next day, they arrive at a trailer park where all the residents look at them with suspicion. In the workshop, they meet Ricky, who agrees to fix the car. On the radio, reporters explain that all communications failed, except shortwave radios and local amateur radio systems. The government remains silent, and no one knows what's happening as cries for help mix with the news. They notice birds flying and strange patterns in the sky. When he goes to the bathroom, Tom notices a large, painful bruise on his body. Then Ricky says she can do a temporary repair, but the car will break down again on the road. Learning that she planned to go to California, Tom makes a deal. He will pay for her to travel with them so she gets closer to the destination and can fix the car when it breaks down. After some hesitation, Ricky accepts but asks for more money. Before leaving, they load Ricky's tools into the vehicle. At night, they notice a car following them, so they pull over and turn off their lights. When the other car passes, they follow using its taillights as a guide. When Ricky checks her compass, she notices the needle spinning uncontrollably. Suddenly, another car appears in their lane, so Will must swerve quickly, and the new vehicle collides with the one they were following, causing both to leave the road. Will checks one of the cars but finds no survivors. Ricky checks the other and finds a dead woman. The husband tries to say something, but can't because he's clearly dying. When Ricky and Will say they should take him to a hospital, Tom refuses, claiming it's too far and the man would die on the way. Tom and Will return to the car, but Ricky keeps staring at the bodies. Soon another vehicle stops nearby, and some suspicious-looking men get out. Tom, wary, speeds off to flee, but Will convinces him to take Ricky before leaving. While driving, Tom explains he only picked her up because Will asked. Ricky is offended and says she won't fix the car again. Then Tom brakes sharply on purpose, making her hit her face on the seat. Later, when they stop to refuel, Ricky and Will notice the clouds behaving strangely. Suddenly, lightning strikes a post and a huge storm begins. Tom has difficulty driving as visibility is poor even with headlights on. They decide to wait under a bridge until the rain passes. The next day, the journey continues in better weather. Passing a radio tower, the car radio picks up a signal. The reporter says there's still no internet or cell service and no news from the government. Some miles ahead, the trio find the road blocked by locals and their vehicles. The sheriff is suspicious, but lets them pass when Will mentions several names he knows in town. Later, Will stops to visit his friend Meg, who says she hasn't heard from her husband since he left on a business trip before the incident. Will takes the opportunity to shower. Ricky fixes the car and Tom fills water bottles. Meg breaks down emotionally, thinking her husband won't return. Will tries to comfort her and promises things will be okay, but says he must continue on his way. Then the trio return to the road. A column of smoke catches their attention, and they discover a military plane crashed. Ricky wonders if it was shot down. Sometime later, they reach a water park and decide to search for supplies. Ricky jumps into the pool expecting to swim, but the water is very hot. After seeing a military helicopter fly by, they begin searching. There's no money at the cash register, and all the cars have slashed tires, but at least they manage to fill the jerry cans. Tom struggles to carry them because of his injury, and Will has to help him. At night, when they pass an antenna, all cell phones begin to vibrate. Will receives a voice message. It's from Samantha saying she loves him, but the audio is full of static and ends before she can say more. When Tom tries to call Paula, he can't. Suddenly, they see a line of people walking along the road coughing. There is smoke in the distance, and as they approach, they discover the entire area is on fire. Ricky thinks they should turn back, but Will says it's the only option. As they cross the area, smoke and ash surround the car. Will panics when he sees a woman in the middle of the road who says she has a flat tire. Ricky and Will want to help her, but armed men emerge from hiding. They had forced the woman to act as bait. The bandits try to steal the fuel, and Will tries to fight one of them, but is easily knocked down with a few punches. When Tom tries to grab his gun, he feels pain in his broken ribs and falls to the ground. After forcing Ricky to fill their tank, the bandits leave, taking all the jerry cans. The trio return to the car, and Will invites the woman to come with them, but she prefers to stay with her unconscious husband. A chase begins through the smoke, and the bandits open fire, so Will responds by colliding with their car. Tom keeps coughing and can hardly move, so he hands the gun to Ricky. After some missed shots, she hits the bandits' tires, causing their car to overturn. When the bandits' car lands upside down, Ricky runs to grab the jerry cans, but one of the men refuses to let go. There's a fight until she finally manages to grab one, and Will yells for her to run because he sees fuel leaking. Fortunately, they are away when the car explodes. Moments later, Ricky asks Will to stop. She gets out, runs, and collapses, realizing she killed the men. Tom and Will remind her she saved them, but leave her alone for a while. When the sun rises, Ricky still hasn't returned. Will calls her with no answer and notices her things are gone. Tom admits they shouldn't have invited her to come along. As they continue the journey, Tom begins to cough up blood. They stop when they find a place with destroyed cars and a derailed train. Will goes out to look for fuel. Upon returning, he finds Tom unable to breathe as his lungs collapse. To relieve the pressure, Will inserts a needle into his chest, which helps Tom breathe again. After returning to the road, Tom asks Will to promise to take good care of Samantha. They draw closer, talking about their families, and finally Tom admits Will is a good man. He says he knows Samantha is pregnant and that Will be a good father. That night they drive across a bridge full of abandoned cars. When the road is blocked by an armed group, Will explains that his friend needs medical attention. The threatening group orders him to move forward, but Will realizes it's a trap and begins to reverse. Two men on a motorcycle pursue him as he turns the car and shoots at the attackers. He then performs sharp maneuvers until the motorcyclists fall. They manage to advance, but a truck still blocks the way. Tom fires while Will swerves the car, causing the truck to tip over and allowing them to cross the bridge and finally escape. Unfortunately, the effort is too much for Tom, who dies in the back seat. Moments later, Will stops the car and looks at the body, not knowing what to do. He decides to continue the journey, but the car breaks down in the middle of the road as night falls. After shouting in frustration, Will covers the car and Tom's body with fuel and sets them on fire in a final farewell. The next day, Will continues on foot, while several drivers pass without stopping, until finally a car stops and a family agrees to take him, but the man demands Will hand over the gun first. During the trip, they try the radio but receive nothing. Moments later, they arrive at Will's father's house. There, he tells the family they can keep the supplies. After sleeping a few hours to rest, Will says they can keep all the provisions in exchange for the car, and the man agrees. Before leaving, Will retrieves his gun. The next day, Will finds a city in ruins, but moves on. He finally reaches Seattle, where ashes fall from the sky. There are many abandoned cars, and he enters a fire truck to get a gas mask. Then Will continues on foot, noticing bodies inside the vehicles. Looking over the city, he sees smoke rising from much of the buildings. He crosses the streets, dodging destroyed cars, until he reaches his building. He climbs the fire escape, enters his apartment through a window, and discovers half the building has collapsed. On a wall, there is a message from Samantha, with an address where to find her. Will then drives as fast as he can to that location. Jeremiah greets him armed, but Samantha restrains him and runs to reunite with her boyfriend. After they calm down, Will tells her what happened with her father, saying he wouldn't have survived without him. That night, Will is jolted awake by a large explosion. He goes out to investigate and sees the northern lights in the sky. Samantha and Jeremiah drink by a bonfire, and he joins them. They explain how the city was affected. According to them, there was an alleged earthquake, and the police evacuated everyone at the last second. However, Jeremiah does not believe it was an earthquake. He thinks it was a nuclear bomb that hit the coast and a virus that knocked out the network before anyone could understand what was happening. Will doesn't believe it, and Jeremiah makes him even more uncomfortable by asking to see his gun in private. Samantha assures Will she doesn't believe the bomb story either. The couple end up having an intimate moment. Later, Will goes to the bathroom and sees Jeremiah inspecting his car. The next morning, Jeremiah apologizes for what he said the previous night, claiming he was drunk. Will confronts him about the car, and Jeremiah says he saw two kids trying to steal things. Supposedly, the kids ran into the woods, so both go out to look for them, but only find deer. Will then tells Jeremiah that he and Samantha will leave. He suggests Jeremiah join them, but he replies that Samantha wants to stay. He then turns with the gun ready to shoot, but Will is faster and fires first. A huge dark cloud approaches at terrifying speed, so Will runs to get Samantha and both escape in the car. The cloud rips through the area with force as the couple speed down the road, trying to survive the onslaught.